The Great Pyramid of Giza, a mountain of stone towering nearly 500 feet into the desert sky. For over 4 millennia, it has dominated the landscape, silent, mysterious, defiant against time itself. But behind its majesty lies a question that has haunted historians, scientists, and dreamers alike for centuries. Who really built the pyramids? The textbooks tell us one story. They tell us that thousands of laborers under the command of a single pharaoh spent decades hauling millions of blocks of stone across the desert to raise these wonders of the ancient world. And yet, when you look closer, the pieces don't quite fit. The logistics don't add up. The evidence doesn't always align. And whispers of a deeper mystery, of secrets buried beneath the sands, of civilizations lost to time, of knowledge that someone does not want us to know, grow louder with every passing year. This isn't just a story about ancient monuments. This is a story about history itself, and the possibility that what we've been taught is a carefully constructed cover-up. Tonight, we're diving deep into the enigma of the pyramids. We'll explore the mainstream narrative, challenge its weaknesses, and confront the wildest theories. Lost civilizations, ancient technology, even extraterrestrial visitors. And through it all, we'll ask the question: why would anyone want to hide the truth about who really built the pyramids? So buckle up. This is going to be a journey across thousands of years, through myths, mysteries, and cover-ups that just might change the way you see human history. Because when it comes to the pyramids of Egypt, the real story may be stranger than anything you've ever imagined. Welcome to ancient history's biggest cover-up. Before we explore the alternative theories, let's begin with the version of events most of us were taught in school. The official story. According to mainstream Egyptology, the Great Pyramid of Giza was built during the 4th dynasty of Egypt's Old Kingdom, around 4,500 years ago. Specifically, it is said to have been commissioned by Pharaoh Khufu, also known by his Greek name, Cheops. Construction is believed to have taken about 20 years. The pyramid originally stood at 481 feet tall, making it the tallest man-made structure in the world for nearly 4,000 years, until the spires of medieval cathedrals and modern skyscrapers surpassed it. It is estimated that the pyramid is made of about 2.3 million blocks of stone, some weighing up to 80 tons. That's nearly 6 million tons of stone in total. The workforce theory. So how did the Egyptians supposedly do this? The traditional belief, once popularized by ancient Greek historians like Herodotus, was that tens of thousands of slaves dragged these blocks across the desert using ropes, sledges, and sheer muscle power. However, modern archaeology paints a somewhat different picture. Evidence of workers' villages has been discovered near the pyramids. Entire settlements with bakeries, breweries, barracks, and even medical facilities. This suggests that many of the laborers were not slaves, but rather conscripted workers, peasants, farmers, and craftsmen who rotated in and out of service, often during the agricultural off-season when the Nile's flooding prevented farming. Archaeologists believe the workforce may have been between 20,000 and 30,000 strong, organized into highly efficient teams. These teams would quarry limestone blocks locally, transport them to the construction site, and haul them up massive ramps that spiraled around the growing structure. The tools and methods. As for the tools, the Egyptians of this period had no iron or steel. Their chisels and saws were made of copper, a relatively soft metal. To shape harder stones like granite, they supposedly used dolerite pounding stones, essentially bashing the granite repeatedly until it fractured into shape. Transporting the blocks across the desert sand presented another challenge. In recent years, experiments have suggested that workers may have poured water in front of the sledges, reducing friction and making it easier to drag the heavy blocks. Wall paintings even show workers hauling statues on sledges, with a man pouring liquid ahead of them. Once at the construction site, the prevailing theory is that massive ramps, either straight, zigzagging, or encircling the pyramid, allowed workers to drag the stones upward layer by layer until the structure was complete. Evidence supporting the official story. There are indeed pieces of evidence that support this narrative. In 1837, British explorer Colonel Howard Vyse blasted his way into hidden chambers above the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid. There he discovered quarry marks, red ochre symbols and hieroglyphs naming work gangs and referencing Pharaoh Khufu. This is often cited as the smoking gun, proof that Khufu was the pyramid's builder. Additionally, the discovery of workers' villages, tools, and inscriptions nearby strengthens the case that this was a massive but organized human endeavor. But here's the problem. For all its apparent plausibility, the official story leaves us with some uncomfortable questions. Could a workforce of 20,000 to 30,000 people, using copper chisels and wooden sledges, really cut, transport, and place 2.3 million blocks in just 20 years? That would mean placing one block every 2 to 3 minutes, continuously, day and night, for 2 decades, without mistakes, and with almost supernatural precision. The pyramid is aligned to true north with an accuracy of 0.067 degrees, a precision that modern compasses would struggle to match. Its base is level within less than an inch across a 13-acre footprint. Some of the interior granite blocks fit so tightly that not even a razor blade can slip between them. And yet, the Egyptians supposedly did all of this with stone hammers and copper chisels. Even more curious, while we have wall paintings and inscriptions depicting almost every aspect of ancient Egyptian life, from farming to fishing, from banquets to religious rituals, there are no contemporary depictions of pyramid construction itself. Not a single wall painting shows thousands of men hauling limestone blocks up a giant ramp to build a pyramid. Why would such a monumental national project, supposedly overseen by a god king, leave so little artistic record? And then there's the biggest mystery of all. Why were the pyramids built in the first place? The purpose of the pyramids. The mainstream answer is simple. They were tombs, monuments to the pharaohs, designed to house their bodies and help their souls ascend to the afterlife. But here's the strange part. No mummy has ever been found inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. In fact, not a single pyramid from Egypt's Old Kingdom has ever been found containing a pharaoh's mummy. Were they all looted in antiquity? Possibly, but the lack of direct evidence raises the possibility that the pyramids may not have been tombs at all, or at least not in the way we imagine. So if they weren't just tombs, and if the official story has holes in its logistics, then what are we missing? What if the real story of the pyramids is something far more complex? Something that challenges everything we think we know about human history. If we accept the official story, then the builders of the Great Pyramid were some of the most brilliant engineers in history, operating with nothing more than copper tools, ropes, and wooden sledges. But when you examine the pyramid more closely, the logistics border on the impossible. The scale of the problem. The Great Pyramid alone contains 2.3 million blocks of stone. Some weigh only 2 or 3 tons, about the size of a family car, while others, especially the granite blocks inside the King's Chamber, weigh up to 80 tons. The granite used in the pyramid wasn't quarried locally. It came from Aswan, nearly 500 miles to the south. Imagine transporting an 80-ton block down the Nile, then across the desert, then lifting it hundreds of feet into the air without cranes or modern machinery. Even today, moving stones of that size is a major engineering project. And yet we're told the ancient Egyptians did it repeatedly, with simple tools, on a strict timeline. The precision. Then there's the geometry. The base of the pyramid is almost a perfect square, each side originally about 756 feet long, with a difference of just a few inches between them. The four sides are aligned almost exactly to the cardinal directions: north, south, east, west. Its alignment to true north is so precise that even with modern surveying tools it would be difficult to replicate. The pyramid's height and base encode mathematical relationships. For example, the ratio of its perimeter to its height is almost exactly equal to 2 pi, suggesting that the builders knew the concept of pi thousands of years before it was officially discovered. Hidden chambers and advanced planning. Modern scans have revealed anomalies inside the pyramid, voids and hidden chambers that may still conceal secrets. The construction wasn't haphazard. It required advanced planning, mathematical knowledge, and organizational ability on a scale that seems staggering for 2500 BCE. So we're left with two choices. Either the Egyptians were far more advanced than we give them credit for, or there's something missing from the story. The ramp problem. The ramp theory is often presented as the most logical solution, but think about it. To drag 2.3 million blocks up ramps, you'd need ramps longer than the pyramid itself. If it was a straight ramp, it would have stretched for miles, requiring more material than the pyramid itself. A spiraling ramp is possible, but no physical evidence of such ramps has ever been found. And once the pyramid was complete, those ramps would have had to be dismantled entirely. That's a lot of extra effort, with little trace left behind. Modern engineers weigh in. When modern engineers are asked if the Great Pyramid could be built today, the answer is sobering. Yes, with cranes, diamond-tipped saws, laser levels, and heavy machinery, we could replicate the pyramid. But to do it with copper chisels and manpower alone, many admit it would be nearly impossible. Some have even suggested that if we were challenged to build an identical pyramid today, using only the tools supposedly available to the Egyptians, we might fail. And if that's true, then how did they do it? Unless, of course, the Egyptians weren't the ones who did. What if the pyramids are older than we think? That's a question that has fascinated alternative historians for decades. Because while mainstream archaeology dates the Great Pyramid to about 4,500 years ago, some evidence suggests they could be far older. Relics, not of the Egyptians we know, but of a forgotten civilization. The case of the Sphinx. Take the Great Sphinx, for example. The official story says it was built around 2500 BCE for Pharaoh Khafre. But some geologists, like Dr. Robert Schoch, have argued that the erosion patterns on the Sphinx tell a different story. The deep weathering on its body isn't consistent with wind and sand erosion. It looks more like water erosion. But Egypt hasn't had heavy rainfall since the end of the last ice age, around 10,000 years ago. If the Sphinx is that old, then who carved it? Certainly not the Egyptians we know from the dynastic period. Their civilization hadn't even begun yet. The Younger Dryas Cataclysm. This ties into the idea of the Younger Dryas, a period of sudden climate change around 12,000 years ago. Evidence suggests that a cataclysm, perhaps a massive comet impact, devastated Earth's climate and wiped out advanced coastal civilizations. Could the pyramids be the last surviving monuments of such a lost world? A world erased by floods and fire, remembered only in myths of Atlantis and other ancient legends. Myths of a golden age. Many ancient cultures speak of a golden age, when gods or demigods lived among humans, imparting knowledge before disappearing. The Egyptians spoke of Zep Tepi, the first time, when gods ruled the land and built monumental works. Plato wrote of Atlantis, a great civilization destroyed in a single day and night of catastrophe. Across the world, from Mesopotamia to Mesoamerica, there are myths of great floods and lost knowledge. Are these just stories? Or do they hint at a forgotten chapter of human history? One in which the pyramids were already standing long before Egypt's dynasties rose to power. Advanced knowledge in stone. Consider this: the pyramid's alignment with Orion's belt. The three pyramids of Giza are positioned to match the three stars in that constellation. But due to the slow wobble of Earth's axis, a process called precession, the alignment was most exact not in 2500 BCE, but around 10,500 BCE. Is it coincidence? Or could the builders have been aligning the pyramids with the stars as they appeared over 12,000 years ago, during the very period when myths say great civilizations fell? Suppressed evidence? Critics of mainstream Egyptology argue that evidence for an older date is ignored or suppressed because it challenges the established timeline. If the pyramids are older, it would mean rewriting not just Egyptian history, but all of human history. It would mean admitting that advanced civilizations existed long before we thought possible. Civilizations with knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and engineering far beyond what we credit to early humans. And that is a truth some institutions may not want revealed. Because if the pyramids are older than Egypt itself, then who really built them? And why has that knowledge been buried for thousands of years? Some say the answer lies not on Earth at all, but in the stars. Of all the theories about who built the pyramids, none is more controversial or more popular than the idea that they were constructed with the help of extraterrestrials. It sounds like science fiction. And yet, the ancient astronaut theory has captured the imagination of millions, appearing in books, TV shows, and late-night conversations around the world. But why? Why do so many people believe aliens may have had a hand in building the pyramids? The case for ancient astronauts. Proponents of this theory argue that the pyramids are simply too advanced to have been built by Bronze Age humans with primitive tools. The sheer size of the stones, the precision of the alignment, the mathematical knowledge encoded in the structures. To many, this suggests technology beyond what humans of the time could achieve. Erich von Daniken, author of Chariots of the Gods, popularized the idea in the 1960s. Arguing that ancient monuments around the world, from the pyramids of Egypt to the statues of Easter Island, were built with guidance from extraterrestrial visitors. He pointed to depictions of strange beings in ancient art, stories of gods descending from the heavens, and myths of advanced knowledge suddenly appearing in human cultures. The Orion connection. The pyramid's alignment with Orion's belt is often cited as evidence of an otherworldly influence. Why would an ancient civilization go to such extraordinary lengths to mirror the stars, unless they were trying to honor or communicate with beings from those stars? Some theorists even suggest that the pyramids were not tombs or monuments at all, but energy collectors, beacons, or even landing pads for alien craft. Ancient texts and strange beings. Egyptian mythology is filled with gods who came from the sky. Ra, the sun god, who sailed across the heavens in his great ship. Thoth, the god of wisdom, who brought writing and knowledge. Osiris, who descended to earth to rule mankind. Were these merely symbolic stories? Or were they distorted memories of encounters with beings who were not of this earth? The counter-arguments. Mainstream scholars dismiss the alien hypothesis as pseudoscience. They argue that attributing the pyramids to aliens undermines the ingenuity of ancient humans. To them, the pyramids are a triumph of human engineering, organization, and persistence. Nothing more, nothing less. They point out that no physical evidence of extraterrestrial technology has ever been found at Giza. The tools, workers' villages, and quarry sites are all consistent with human labour. And yet, the alien theory refuses to die, because for many, the idea that ordinary humans built the pyramids with primitive tools simply doesn't satisfy. Why the alien theory persists? At its core, the alien hypothesis speaks to a deeper question. Are we alone in the universe? If aliens did visit Earth in the distant past, the pyramids would be the ultimate calling card, a message in stone designed to last forever. And even if you don't believe in aliens, the persistence of this theory reflects something important, that the pyramids are so mysterious, so otherworldly, that people instinctively feel they must be more than meets the eye. Maybe the aliens didn't build the pyramids, but the fact that so many believe they did tells us something profound, that the pyramids don't just belong to history, they belong to the imagination, and perhaps to secrets far deeper than the alien theory itself. Beyond the engineering and the alien theories lies another possibility, that the pyramids were built not just as monuments, but as vaults of secret knowledge. The Hall of Records. For centuries, there have been legends of a Hall of Records, a hidden chamber beneath the Sphinx or the pyramids, containing the wisdom of a lost civilization. Ancient texts, maps of the stars, technologies, even records of humanity's true origins. Some claim this knowledge was deliberately hidden, to be revealed only when humanity was ready. Others believe it has already been found and covered up. In the 1990s, ground-penetrating radar surveys around the Sphinx revealed anomalies beneath its pores, potential cavities or chambers. But official excavations have been limited, and details remain secret. Why? The missing capstone. Another mystery. The Great Pyramid is missing its capstone. What happened to it? Was it a simple case of erosion and theft over millennia? Or was the capstone, perhaps made of gold or a conductive material, deliberately removed to conceal the pyramid's true function? Some theorists suggest the pyramid was once an energy device, using its shape and internal chambers to harness Earth's natural power. If so, the capstone would have been essential, and its removal deliberate. Religion and control. Consider this. If the pyramids do conceal hidden knowledge, whether technological, astronomical, or spiritual, why would anyone want to hide it? The answer may lie in power. Knowledge is power, and throughout history, elites have sought to control knowledge to control people. If the pyramids hold evidence that challenges established religion, history, or science, then revealing that truth could destabilize society. It could undermine governments, faiths, and institutions built on the current narrative. Is it possible that the truth about the pyramids isn't just unknown, but actively suppressed? The priests of ancient Egypt. We know that the priests of ancient Egypt guarded secret knowledge. Astronomy, medicine, mathematics. These were closely held mysteries, not shared with the common people. Some legends suggest that even the pharaohs themselves were not fully initiated into the deepest secrets. Only the high priests, guardians of the mysteries, knew the full truth of what the pyramids represented. And when Egypt eventually fell, did those secrets vanish forever? Or were they passed down in hidden traditions, whispered in the shadows, preserved by secret societies through the ages? A legacy of secrets. Freemasons, Rosicrucians, and other esoteric groups have long been fascinated by the pyramids. Their symbols echo pyramid shapes, all-seeing eyes, and ancient Egyptian motifs. Coincidence? Or a clue that fragments of hidden knowledge survived, carried forward through time, waiting for the day when humanity would rediscover its origins? Because if the pyramids are more than tombs, if they are repositories of lost knowledge, then we are standing not just before a pile of stone, but before a time capsule, a message across the ages, a message we may not yet be ready to hear. But there are those who say we've already heard it, and those who say powerful forces are keeping us from the truth, which brings us to the modern cover-up.
For many, the most unsettling part of the pyramid mystery isn't ancient at all, it's modern. Because if there is evidence that the pyramids are older than we think, or that they contain hidden chambers, lost technologies, or knowledge that would rewrite history, then why don't we hear about it? Why do we only get the same official narrative repeated again and again? Restricted access in modern times. Excavation and research at Giza has been heavily restricted. Few organizations are granted permission to dig. Access to certain chambers is tightly controlled, and the Egyptian government, working closely with a select group of Egyptologists, decides what information is released to the public. Critics argue that discoveries are downplayed, hidden, or even covered up entirely. In the 1998s, for instance, scans beneath the Sphinx revealed possible cavities, potential hidden chambers. But follow-up excavations were abruptly halted. Officially, there was nothing of significance there. Unofficially, some whisper that discoveries were made and never revealed. Zahi Hawass and the Gatekeepers. War. And much of this controversy centers around one man, Zahi Hawass, Egypt's longtime head of antiquities. Hawass has been accused of tightly controlling access to the pyramids and Sphinx, of suppressing alternative theories, and of punishing researchers who challenge the orthodox timeline. Supporters say he was simply protecting Egypt's heritage from wild speculation. But critics say his iron grip prevented genuine discoveries from ever reaching the public eye. Why such secrecy?
The stakes of the truth. Think about what would happen if the pyramids were proven to be 10,000 years old, twice as old as mainstream history claims. It would mean rewriting the story of human civilization. It would mean admitting that advanced knowledge existed long before Mesopotamia, Sumer, and Egypt, the so-called cradle of civilization. It would upend textbooks, religious timelines, and our very understanding of who we are. And with such high stakes, perhaps it's not surprising that the truth is carefully managed, a global pattern, and it isn't just Egypt. Around the world, other ancient mysteries, from Göbekli Tepe in Turkey to underwater ruins off the coast of Japan, suggest advanced societies far older than we once believed. Yet time and again, discoveries that challenge the orthodox timeline are dismissed, buried, or ridiculed. Is this simply academic conservatism, or is there a deliberate effort, a cover-up, to keep humanity from learning the truth about its past? If the pyramids hide the truth of a forgotten civilization, or something even stranger, then someone, somewhere, has decided we are not ready to know. If not the Egyptians and not aliens, then who? Across cultures and legends, we find hints of other possible builders, myths that might hold grains of truth. The Atlanteans, Plato, spoke of Atlantis, a great civilization destroyed in a cataclysm around 12,000 years ago, advanced, powerful, and ultimately doomed. Some believe survivors of Atlantis fled across the world, bringing their knowledge with them. They may have built the pyramids, or at least inspired their construction, as a way to preserve their wisdom in stone. The followers of Thoth Egyptian mythology speaks of Thoth, the god of wisdom. Some traditions say he taught humanity writing, science, and architecture. Esoteric texts claim Thoth, later known as Hermes Trismegistus, left behind the emerald tablets inscribed with secret knowledge of the universe. Could the pyramids themselves be his legacy? Not tombs, but repositories of hidden wisdom. Giants and gods. Other myths speak of giants, beings of great size and strength, who walked the earth in ancient times. The Bible mentions the Nephilim. Other traditions speak of gods who lived among humans, teaching them advanced skills. Were these merely legends, or distorted memories of a race of beings, perhaps human, perhaps not, who left their mark in the form of the pyramids? survivors of a forgotten world. Whether Atlanteans, god-kings, or something else entirely, the pyramids may be the fingerprints of a world we've lost, a world erased by floods, fire, or deliberate forgetting. And maybe, just maybe, the pyramids were built not just to survive the ages, but to send a message to the future, to us. So, who really built the pyramids? We've examined the official story, thousands of workers, decades of labor, a pharaoh's tomb. We've explored the engineering mystery, precision, and logistics that defy explanation. We've looked at the possibility of forgotten civilizations, erased from history. We've considered the alien hypothesis, the legends of gods and visitors from the stars. We've uncovered whispers of cover-ups, secrets, and hidden chambers. And yet, the answer remains elusive. Perhaps the truth is a combination of these theories. Perhaps the Egyptians were the inheritors of older knowledge, building upon ruins left by an earlier forgotten people. Perhaps the myths of gods and star beings were rooted in real encounters. Or perhaps the pyramids are exactly what the orthodox scholars say they are, monuments of human determination, crafted with ingenuity we still struggle to comprehend. But here's what we do know. The pyramids endure. More than 4,000 years later, they stand as the last of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. They outlast empires, religions, and even civilizations themselves. They remind us that history is not as simple as the textbooks claim, that our past may hold secrets still waiting to be uncovered, and that perhaps we were never meant to know the full truth. The pyramids rise from the sands of Egypt, silent sentinels of stone. They do not answer our questions, they only ask new ones. So I leave you with this. Who really built the pyramids, and what else lies hidden beneath the sands of time waiting to be revealed? Maybe one day we'll know the truth. Until then, the mystery remains. If you enjoyed this deep dive into ancient history's biggest cover-up, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your own theories in the comments. Do you think the pyramids were built by Egyptians, aliens, Atlanteans, or someone else entirely? Because the search for truth isn't over. It's only just begun.